Darling, would you like some tea? I made a favorite.
Well, thank you, darling. I'm here finishing my blog post to help homeowners understand the electricity bills. You know, nobody likes paying bills. But at the very least, you should know what you're paying for.
That's true. Some people just check the balance.
Exactly. There's so much more information on your electricity bill. That is how I've been tracking our usage to make sure the changes that we made are working.
So, what do you have so far?
The left side of your bill shows the rates for electricity and government charges. The middle portion shows the number of units you've consumed, plus a history of your usage over the last 8 months. And the right side shows how much you're being charged.
So tell me about the fuel and non-fuel charge.
When you pay your bill, you're paying one charge broken into parts. There's a fuel charge, which is the cost of fuel used to generate electricity. And there's a non-fuel charge, which is the cost of delivering electricity to your home and any other necessary services.
But darling, what about VAT?
Now this is interesting. If you use 99 units or less, there is no VAT. Above 99 units, you pay 15% VAT on the non-fuel portion of your bill.
I love this so far. But wait a minute. Have you added the environmental levy?
That's the final piece. You see, Renwick collects this levy from domestic customers on behalf of Solid Waste Management Authority. This charge is $5 or $10 depending on the number of units you use. So, add the fuel, non-fuel, VAT, and the environmental levy, and that's your electricity bill.
This is really good. I mean, it seems like a lot, but I appreciate that Grenlick shows some breakdown so we can see the value we are getting for our money. And more importantly, where we're spending it. I really think people are going to value this information.
Grenlick, energizing our Grenada.
The Christmas holiday season is weeks away, and MTV, along with Magic FM, is providing advertising rates, programs, and special deals for businesses. Let us help you boost your products, services, and Christmas specials. Don't have an advert? Don't stress. We can create it for you. Contact MTV Marketing Department for details and book it on 4408-171, 405-5718, or mtvmarketinggd@gmail.com. Book early and bring cheer to families for Christmas. Terms and conditions apply.
Who needs a plan? Take my hand. Our stories will find us. My shiny caravan, and there's nowhere that I'd rather be than any place with my shiny caravan. There's nowhere that I'd rather be than any place with you.
Shandy Carrot, refreshed for life.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us once again on Rise and Shine for yet another fitness segment. Alright guys, now this morning I'm going to be taking you through an ab routine, right, for those of you who wants to get your abs in shape, alright? So as you see here, I have my mat. I'm going to get down on it, get nice and comfortable, right? Legs slightly apart, and the first one we're going to do is good old-fashioned standard crunches, right? Then we're going to do some heel touches, and the final exercise in the routine is Russian twist. All right, guys? So you're going to follow me as we go along. So we're going to do 10 in each, right? So let's go with the crunches. Ready, guys? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job, guys. Right? So we're gonna move into the heel touches now. So we go from left to right. That's counted as 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Woo! Good job, guys. Now, the final exercise, this one is called Russian twist, right? So what you do, you lean back just a little bit, you lock your fingers together, and you twist, right? From left to right or from right to left, right? Let's go, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, one more, 10. Good job, guys, if you're following. Now, these 3 exercises are very effective, right? So you can increase the reps, right? So the first one, the crunch, targets the front, right? The second one, it targets the obliques on the sides, right? For those of you who wants to get rid of the muffin top, right? Right. And then we move into the Russian twist. The Russian twist is very effective for targeting both the front and the side, right? So the Russian twist is effective for targeting both the front and the side. So we're gonna do 2 more sets of this routine, right? So follow me as we go along. Let's have fun with it, right? So we're gonna hit the crunch. Let's go, guys. So we're going for 10 or 15, right? 1, 2. So you exhale when you come up. 4, 5. Nice and easy. 6, 7, 8, 9. One more. 10. Make sure you keep your abs tight, right? Contract your abs as hard as you can, right? So we're going to go into the heel touches now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Woo! Good job, guys, if you were following. And now we're going to move into the Russian twist. So you lock your fingers together and you twist from left to right or from right to left. You lean back just a little, right? Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Woo! I can feel it already, right? So we're gonna do 1 more set in this routine, right? Right, guys? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job, guys. Heel touches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Woo! Good job, guys. Keep up. Last exercise in a set. So we're gonna go into the Russian twist. Lean back just a little, left to right, right to left. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One more. 10. Woo! All right, guys. So this was a very effective, very simple yet very effective ab workout that you can do in the comfort of your home, right? Just before you head off to school or to work, right? Very effective. helps to tone your abs and your obliques. Right, guys? Remember to drink your water and to make healthy choices. Thanks again for joining us, guys. See you again on Rise and Shine.
Tony Julian with the details. The controversial sugar issue between Belize and Trinidad and Tobago before the Caribbean Court of Justice, or CCJ, could serve as a warning for Grenada and other CARICOM member states. Rachel Bain has been following the legal action brought by the government of Belize against the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and that's concerning an alleged violation of the Treaty of Chaguaramas.
The government of Belize has taken action in the Caribbean Court of Justice against the alleged non-application of the Common External Tariff, the CET, on the brown sugar entering Trinidad and Tobago from extra-regional sources in violation of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. As the CCJ deliberates on the matter, Chairman of the Sugar Association of the Caribbean, Carl James, says, over the last 3 years, SAC has repeatedly raised its concerns about this practice that has drastically diluted the value and demand of the CARICOM market for regional sugar producers. Evidence shows that more than 4,000 metric tons of sugar were imported into Belize without any record of CET being paid. Carl James, chairman of SAC, explains.
What we found out over the last 3 years is that the Caribbean used the region, and we were able to identify that some of that sugar was coming in from Brazil, Guatemala, Honduras, and Colombia, to name a few of them. So we took it up with the CARICOM Secretariat to say that they need to pay the 40% CET, which was agreed.
This evidence was underscored by a dramatic fall-off in prices for brown sugar during the same period. How is Grenada affected by such practice? According to the Ministry of Trade, Grenada imports sugar from Belize. The SAC chairman says Grenada will have to pay an 80% tax if sugar is purchased from outside of the region.
Oh, Grenada wouldn't affect it, because if you are going to buy sugar, brown sugar, for your domestic market, if you don't want to buy it from the Caribbean, then you are going to have to pay the 40% CT.
James says the fact that Belize took Trinidad to court was not to get money, but rather to stop its illegal practice so the countries producing sugar in the region can benefit.
What we are seeking is the application of the CET on all brown sugar, start with brown sugar, coming into the region, because we produce enough brown sugar in the region to satisfy the market.
For MTV News, Rachel Bain.
As a result of the COVID-19 health and safety policy, workers in the tourism sector must be vaccinated to work. That's according to Minister of Tourism, Dr. Clarice Modeste-Kerwin. According to her, this mandate is to make sure that all tourists and employees are safe from the dreaded COVID-19 virus. But we get more on it from Nikita Huston.
While vaccine is not mandatory in Grenada, Tourism Minister Dr. Clarice Modeste-Kerwin says all individuals associated with the tourism sector must be vaccinated in order to conduct business when cruise ships arrive.
So going back to the agreements and the protocols, on their side, they're having fully vaccinated. On our side, we have agreed with them that the persons who they interact with. Because if you interact with a vendor, if you have a driver of a taxi or a cruise, the cruise buses and so on, there's some measure of interaction or there's some possibility of touching what somebody else has touched. And so there's a possibility of infection. And so one of the key priorities for visitors is safety and security, their health. And so you're asking us to be vaccinated. Are the persons we're going to for service in various destinations, are they also vaccinated? And we have had to say that we would endeavor to ensure that everyone is.
The minister stated the country lost many opportunities because of the low level of vaccination rate within the country, and cruise ships have been turned back.
All of these, over 200 calls that have been offered to us, the other persons, again, as happened in the summertime when we had the offer, they will take it. And we have to ask ourselves, if we keep turning down these offers, for how long will these offers be open to us every season? Will they continue? Or will persons love the destinations that they have been exposed to and give raving interviews of them and encourage others to go to those places?
Minister Cohen says one of the key priorities for visitors is the health as well as the people of Grenada.
For the level of unemployment that this situation has caused in our country, and we are willing to work with all stakeholders to see how we can improve, but time is of the essence and the right actions need to be taken.
Nikita Wilson, MTV News.
With more than 200 cruise ship calls expected, many vendors are looking forward to the influx of tourists coming to Grenada shores. However, they must be fully vaccinated to be included within the bubble that the Grenada Tourism Authority has created. There are, however, several vendors, particularly those at the Grand Anse Spice and Craft Market, who will be negatively affected as they have refused to take the jab. The GTA's Barry Collymore says that the visitors will be guided as to where they can go through guided tours.
As the cruise ship season reopens and the authorities have plans to work with numerous service providers over the period, some vendors may be left out of the bubble due to their vaccination status. Vendors at the Grand Anse Spice and Craft Market, who recently protested about the authorities' decision to have all vendors vaccinated to access their booths, may be among those left out. According to Barry Collymore, chairman of the Grenada Tourism Authority, they understand the issues, but based on discussions had, the visitors will be engaging with vaccinated service providers through guided tours.
Working on a bubble is really an organized tour so that passengers disembarking cruise ships will be guided. They will not be allowed to roam freely, just get off the ship and go anywhere they would like. The bubbles will guide them as to where they can and cannot go, so they will be directed to the sites that are in fact vaccinated areas.
He stated that they are looking into the vendors' market situation.
We are actively looking at that. Minister was there just yesterday. I was there on Sunday. For the people who can do business, we want to find a way for them to do business. It doesn't make sense to keep yes, we have to be cognizant of the fact that there are regulations and so on, but for people who have gotten vaccinated and who are compliant, we are going to try to find a way for them to be able to conduct their business, and we're going to work with the others to try to see if we can get them to compliance as quickly as possible.
MTV reached out to the vendors at the Grand Anse Spice and Crafts Market to get their thoughts about them being left out and not being allowed to engage the thousands of visitors coming to the shores. However, the vendors who were at their booths refused to speak on camera, but indicated that they are still awaiting correspondence from the GTA as to how they will be moving forward. Reporting for MTV News, I am none other hosted.
As countries move to expand COVID-19 vaccinations to children younger than 12 years, the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, is stressing that the most vulnerable populations should be fully vaccinated first, although it does acknowledge that countries have the right to decide which populations are to be prioritized.
Let me begin by saying that each country makes its own decision about which populations to vaccinate. But so far, our strategic advisory group of experts has not recommended vaccination against COVID-19 for children.
Carissa Etienne, director of PAHO, speaking at the regional PAHO's briefing. According to Etienne, the elderly, people with underlying conditions, and healthcare workers should be priority when receiving the vaccine before distributing COVID-19 vaccines for children. She says children tend to experience milder symptoms compared with adults and aren't in urgent need of vaccinations unless they have pre-existing condition.
To best combat COVID-19, we urge countries to prioritize the elderly, frontline workers, and people with pre-existing conditions. And that was the objective of protecting them and also preventing the collapse of the health systems. We know that when vaccine availability is low, it is best to protect the most vulnerable first.
So far, only Pfizer and BioNTech vaccines have been approved for those aged 12 years and above. However, trials are being done on other vaccines for children. However, Etienne says the current moment related to the COVID-19 pandemic in the Caribbean is worrisome.
The Caribbean, for instance, we are seeing rising vaccine hesitancy. While many people may be tired of the pandemic, it is not over yet. And this is not the time to relax public health and social distancing measures. And this is what we are seeing. As for the outlook, with ECLAC, we looked at possible future scenarios for Latin America and the Caribbean over probably the next 9 months. And we came up with 3 scenarios, including one variation. In scenario A, if there is low implementation of public health and social measures, at the same time as there is a low vaccination coverage, we could see high rates of community transmission continue.
Nikki Hostin, MTV News.
With climate change being such a topical issue, particularly in relation to so many countries, including small islands, there are many fora about how the ordinary man can do his part to reduce some of the effects. Friends of the Earth held an online forum speaking to several specialists in the field who shared just how serious this issue is and some things that can be done as the entire world grapples with this. MTV spoke to Dr. Stephen Fletcher, who shared some tips on how people can help to reduce the impact of climate change on the environment. Let's get more on it from Janella Hostin.
Global warming is real. The global ecological system is on the verge of collapse. The increase in temperatures that we're experiencing is hastening the demise of Mother Earth as we know it. As individuals, we need to take action. We can take action in our own space and within our own borders to help reduce the impact that we are having on our environment and which consequently impact on climate change.
Dr. Stephen Fletcher, Chief Specialist at Campeche International Consultants, highlighting the realness of climate change and global warming and the seriousness of its effects. According to him, as individuals, some things can be done to assist with the reduction of some of these negative impacts, some of which he highlights.
When we see actions are taken that negatively going to impact on our natural environment, that will then have effect on rising sea levels, floods, and so on, we must be able to take joint action. But we must also look at what we consume. We have the sun. Can we make use of solar? Some more. Can we make use of compost? Right? These are things that we can use at an individual level. We must also look at reducing our waste, recycling, purchasing more eco-friendly products. When we go to our supermarkets, when we go shopping, let us take time to look at our labels, look at what we are buying, and buy much more eco-friendly products.
He says, based on what is happening, it is clear that the world is on the verge of an ecological disaster, which is unfolding at a dramatic speed. The impact, he noted, has a lot to do with how human beings treat the environment.
In our local Grenadian context, our impact on climate change has to do more with how we as human beings treat our environment, our physical environment, our ecological environment, much less to do with industry disposals, industry waste, and so on. Although, let me underline this, although our waste that we have generated and our emissions are also contributory factors to the overall climate decline that we are witnessing.
According to Dr. Fletcher, going towards a more agro-based and technology-driven economy plays a major role as well. Reporting for MTV News, I am Donald Hostin.
Newly appointed ambassador of the European Union, EU, to Grenada is promising that during her 10-year tenure as ambassador, priority will be given to issues like climate change and strengthening the bilateral relations with a focus on the health sector. Comments came during her presentation of credentials virtually to Governor General Her Excellency Dame Cecile Lagrade, as we hear now from Nikita Holston.
I'm happy to welcome you and look forward to working with you to strengthen ties between our region and yours.
On behalf of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II and the government and people of Grenada, Governor General Dame Cecile Lagrade accepted the credentials from the ambassador of the European Union delegation to Barbados and OECS. According to the ambassador, continued focus will be on the health sector. She says the friendship between Grenada and the European Union dates back for more than 4 decades.
Over these years, we have had a rich history of cooperation, notably the Special Framework of Assistance Programs from 1999 to 2008, supporting the reform and reorientation of the agribusiness sector in Grenada with just over 4.9 million. The 9th and the 10th European Development Fund programs provided financing for education sector very close to you, with a focus on enhancing the quality of education as envisioned in the Grenada Poverty Reduction Strategy. More recently, the 11th European Development Fund supported the health sector through a 2.9 million injection into the national budget between 2017 and 2019, and was able to contribute to the construction of the Guayab Health Clinic. The availability of the Guayab Health Clinic as a satellite COVID-19 testing and vaccination facility is evidence of an expanded health service delivery in Grenada with support from the European Union.
Governor General Dame Cecile Lagrade congratulated the ambassador. She says Grenada has had formal relations with the European Union since 1975 and has benefited from a number of projects from the European Union.
From then to the present time, Grenada has enjoyed cordial and cooperative relations with the EU on a bilateral basis as well as through regional programs. Over the years, Grenada has benefited tremendously from a number of EU-funded projects through the European Development Fund. One major project funded by the EU aimed at the improvement of water infrastructure in the upgrade of the Peggy Wim and 7 other water distribution plants to WHO standards.
The Governor General says the European Union has also helped with the fight against the dreaded COVID-19 virus in the country. Nikita Hostin, MTV News.
Two young men have been charged in connection with the 30th of October robbery of a supermarket at Victoria St. Mark. Aaron Chase and Alvin Jerome, both 18 years of age, of Riverside, were brought before the Guelph Magistrates Court on Monday. They were both charged for robbery with violence, while Chase received an additional charge of robbery with violence in connection with a separate incident that occurred on the 27th of May at the Victoria gas station. They were granted bail in the sum of $10,000 and $7,000 respectively, and are scheduled to reappear in court on the 11th of November with conditions. There's been a decrease in vehicular theft when compared with this time of year last year. According to police, so far for the year 2021, almost 30 vehicles were reportedly stolen when compared to 32 back in 2020. But we have more on it from Nikito Houston.
There has been a slight decrease in vehicular theft for the year so far compared to 2020. However, according to Constable Troy Paul of the Royal Grenada Police Force, people should remain vigilant so they cannot be a victim of vehicular theft. Constable Paul says most vehicles that were stolen were recovered, however most were not secured properly.
Most of the time, those vehicles are stolen from venues, areas where shows are being held, and persons park the vehicle to entertain themselves and maybe not secure them properly or other alternative. But however, in relation to those 28 vehicles that was reported, we can safely say that they have been recovered at some other location, but we know that they were recovered. Some are with the intervention of the police and the swift action, and some where the person left the vehicle in an area where no one expected to be. But with those two, those vehicles are recovered. And yes, some arrests with those with the intervention of the police with their swift action. Some arrests was made where persons have been arrested and charged for the offense of using a vehicle without the consent of the owner.
Constable Paul highlighted some of the preventative measures individuals can take to secure their vehicle properly.
Ensuring that your vehicle doors are locked properly. So if you exit your vehicle and you return to park there for a period of time, what you want to do is to make sure that all your doors are up. You ensure that all your windows are up and that there's no space that intruders can access your vehicle. Also, at times, persons may leave a spare key, maybe under the vehicle or someplace, even in the cubby hole. Remember, thieves know where we hide or tend to hide our valuables.
He's also encouraging vehicle owners to install audio alarm systems which can signal if someone is trying to break into their vehicles. He explains the protocols individuals should follow once their vehicle is stolen.
So one should immediately contact the nearest police station. And when they contact the nearest police station, what I want you to do is make sure that you know the registration number of your vehicle, the make, model, color, and year of your vehicle, so that you can provide that detailed information to the police.
Constable Paul says anyone who uses a vehicle without consent of the owner is committing an offense under Section 63 of the Road Traffic Act and can be arrested and charged a fine of $2,500 or face imprisonment for a term of 2 years or both. Nikki Houston, MTV News.
Day of November 2021, I am your host, Oslin Crosby, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. It's another day to be grateful, another day to make a difference, another day to do something positive, do something kind for someone. And today, let us listen or help someone, and I think that's the reason why we are alive. It is our human obligation to extend a hand to those in need. But in addition to that, we are alive. We know the times in which we live. We are still living within the raging pandemic. Yes, we have some of our restrictions relaxed somewhat, but it's important, it is important that we continue to be responsible, very responsible as we go about our daily chores. Yes, we have a lot more freedom now, but with freedom, we don't want you to become complacent. Still be responsible. We are trying to adjust to all of this. We know that the country cannot stay locked down until the pandemic has officially ended. We have to continue living. But how do we do so? What we need to do is continue to modify our lifestyle, the things that we do, and ensure that we continue to be safe. More and more children of our children are out to schools now. I know it's great for us parents. It is something that we have been looking forward to for a while, and also the children. But now it's important that we continue to speak to them, remind them of the importance of adhering to the protocols, wearing their masks, socializing. It's going to be hard for them not to interact with their peers, but try to do so safely. Try to do so safely. So as we do every morning, we start off your day by helping you plan. And this morning will be no different. We go over to the Met Office for this morning's weather forecast. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Ms. Crosby.
Good morning, Mr. Robertson.
And good morning to our listeners and viewers of MTV. Let's take a look at the weather for today, Thursday, the 11th day of November, 2021. At Point Lane, it is fair. The gentle breeze is from the east-northeast at 7 miles per hour. The barometric pressure is 13.8 millibars, which is above normal and rising. The present temperature, 25.7 degrees Celsius, relative humidity, 84%. Yesterday's maximum temperature was 30.4 degrees Celsius, and the minimum last night, 25.2 degrees Celsius. Over the past 24 hours, we had 2.3 millimeters of rain. The total for the month so far, 8.3 millimeters. Now for the public forecast for Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique Valley for today and tonight. The weather is expected to be generally fair, becoming partly cloudy at times with few brief showers, mainly during the evening and night. Today's maximum temperature should reach 31 degrees Celsius. Wind should be east-northeasterly to east-southeasterly at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Sea should be slight to moderate with waves 3 to 5 feet in open waters. Tide is currently rising. Will be high at 10:32 a.m. and low at 6:32 p.m. Sunset today 5:40. Sunrise tomorrow 6:03. To repeat the forecast, the weather is expected to be generally fair, becoming partly cloudy at times, with few brief showers, mainly during the evening and night. From the Maurice Bishop International Airport, Jason Robertson reporting.
Thank you so much, Jason. And that's the weather forecast for today. Partly cloudy conditions, so from all indications, it's going to be a beautiful day. So let us still not let our guards down, and ensure still that you have some of your safety gears in your bag. Just an umbrella can work in your vehicle, just in case the weather just decides to suddenly change on us and we do get some water. Remember, we're still within the hurricane season. It officially concludes on November 30th, but we are still well within it, and we know things can happen. So far, I think we can start counting our blessings as we come to the official end of the season. We were not severely impacted. We are grateful. The pandemic did enough. We did not need an additional hazard affecting us this year, and for that we are definitely grateful here on this rock here in the spice. So we remind you though that we don't need you to become complacent, even though we're almost to the end of the season, because remember, after the season has ended at November 30th, December 1, we normally start getting affected by the troughs, the frontal troughs, and they do bring some water and some severe conditions that can displace and make us very uncomfortable. There is no specific time. While yes, we have a designated time for the hurricane season from June 1st to November 30th, does not mean that we will not be affected by any other severe weather conditions outside of that period. So the importance of being prepared, something that the weather always reminds us of. always reminds us of it. So what we're going to do now, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, hopefully we can get into our first discussion this morning.
We support you at every stage of your life.
For business,
for your education,
for your financial freedom,
for that new ride.
Upgrade your life with the Camino. Contact us today.
The Christmas holiday season is weeks away, and MTV, along with Magic FM, is providing advertising rates, programs, and special deals for businesses. Let us help you boost your products, services, and Christmas specials. Don't have an advert? Don't stress. We can create it for you. Contact MTV Marketing Department for details and book it on 440-8171, 405-5718, or MTV Marketing GD. The Christmas holiday season is weeks. The Christmas holiday season is weeks away, and MTV, along with Magic FM, is providing advertising rates, programs, and special deals for businesses. Let us help you boost your products, services, and Christmas specials. Don't have an advert? Don't stress. We can create it for you. Contact MTV Marketing Department for details and book it on 440-8171, 405-5718, or mtvmarketinggd@gmail.com. Book early and bring cheer to families for Christmas.
Welcome back. We apologize there for that break with that ad. We were not seeing anything. We do apologize for that technical challenge there. So now we should be speaking to our first guest, but they are not on as yet. What we will do, though, is use the time just to speak about some topical issues as we await their arrival via the Zoom platform so that we can start our conversation today. On Tuesday, we had our first cruise ship here, 150 passengers. It means, therefore, and it's important that we get to speak to this. We were sharing earlier on some of the restrictions being relaxed. What does this mean? Now that the tourist season is officially open, it means that we are now open to everything that can come at us, read the pandemic. Being vigilant and, of course, keeping our guards up, being vigilant and also adhering to the protocols are even more critical now. Very, very critical. Remember, with freedom comes a price. And this is what this will be. It is going to remind us of this now that the tourist season is open. Yes, we know that the cruise liners have agreed that their passengers will be vaccinated, the same a negative PCR to enter, and all of that will be there. Things can happen. We have seen things change and change very, very quickly. This is not meant to create panic or create fear, but rather to remind us of the reality that we are dealing with, the fluidity of this whole matter, and the importance of everyone being vigilant. And that is what we want this information this morning to do. Not let you continue to be in that state of fear as it relates to the pandemic, but rather that we are informed so that we can make better decisions. As we are now inviting visitors again to our shows. We weren't able to do so last year. This year, we weren't able to start at that summer tourist season, but we are here now. We have opened up our doors, and more of our doors will be opened as we continue to move into the season. What will that mean? It will mean, therefore, that we are more and more vulnerable and susceptible to things changing in this very, very fluid situation. So I'm going to continue to encourage all. Remember, our schools are open. Our children are leaving home now and they're going out in this mass setting. They're meeting their friends. We cannot stop children from mingling. They have not seen each other for quite a while. School is closed since what? June, July, mid-July. They have not seen their friends in quite a while. And furthermore, they're meeting new ones. So we expect the socialization. What we need to do is continue to drive the message home of the importance of them doing what they need to do to ensure that they are safe, and not just them. Because remember, a child being sick, it means that parents and every other member of the family have an opportunity. There is a chance that everybody can become contaminated. So let us be reminded of this. With freedom comes a price. Also, with power and responsibility, with power comes great responsibility. Right now we have the power to go outside. The Emergency Powers Act, yes, while it was extended until May next year, it gives our policymakers and our enforcers of the law some flexibility to work if things were to change and to do things quickly if things change. But we have a lot more power now. Before, when we were locked in, complete days and nights when we were inside, this is not happening now. Yes, we still have a curfew from 12 to 4 o'clock in the morning, from midnight to 4, but we have a lot more freedom now. With that will come responsibility, and we need to exercise it. It's important that we do, so that we continue to enjoy the relaxed measures that we have now. Please don't abuse. Don't abuse. So I think we have our first guest on. This morning we're speaking with Songbird Tamara Songbird St. Bernard. I'm not sure. I trust she can hear me. We will be speaking with Tammy this morning. We're going to start off on a light note, where we get to speak to Tammy about her experience during the lockdown. Remember, the Songbird was one of our confirmed positive cases. She did do a live, encouraging people to be safe, also letting people know of her status so that she can protect those that she might have come in contact with, giving them an opportunity to get tested. So she was quite an advocate for safety and, of course, people, and removing the myth of the fear and panic during the pandemic. And this morning we have an opportunity to speak to her about her experience, one, the lessons learned from it, and moving forward also how the pandemic has affected her line of work, because we know entertainment, it was one of the severely impacted sectors. So we'll also be speaking to her about that. What we're going to do is take a quick break, and we'll come back with Tammy on our return.
Support you at every stage of your life.
For business,
For your education,
for your financial freedom,
for that new right,
Upgrade your life with Communal. Contact us today.
the Christmas holiday season is weeks away, and MTV, along with Magic FM, is providing advertising rates, programs, and special deals for businesses. Let us help you boost your products, services, and Christmas specials. Don't have an advert? Don't stress. We can create it for you. Contact MTV Marketing Department for details and book it on 440-8171, 405-5718, or mtvmarketingbd@gmail.com. Book early and bring joy to families for Christmas. Terms and conditions apply.
We plan for every major life event, from birthday parties to baptisms, and celebrating a life well lived deserves the same thoughtful planning. Beacon's Stress Easy Plan is designed to give your loved ones the comfort of knowing that they can do just that. With no underwriting and cover for up to 6 family members that includes certain injuries, this plan can be yours for as little as 75 cents per day. Call us at Beacon or log on to beacon.co.tt for more info today.
razors. He's called depression. I want him to go away. Please let me be. Let me be free. No negative thoughts, no evil thinking may come my way. I am the one who's going to win the battle. I'll put my love soldiers and Jah will lead the way.
What a way to start off this morning's interview with Tamara Songbird St. Bernard. Good morning, Miss St. Bernard, and thank you so much for joining us. It is a pleasure with us having you on Rise and Shine. And for me, that song, as it is quite an inspiration. From the first time I heard it, it is exactly what I thought of it and will continue to think of it. Strong message, strong message, and I think now more than ever, so many people need to hear it. Tammy, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
We realize that you're still settling down, so would you just give you a couple of minutes to do so? The song we will definitely be taking in some more of, and Chad, as we allow Tammy just to settle down a bit, you will let us know when you are ready.
No evil thinking may come my way. I am the one who's going to win the battle. I'll put my love for soldiers and Jah will lead the way. Please let me be free. No negative thoughts, no evil thinking may come my way.
Now, so we are speaking this morning your experience during the pandemic. You were one of the people who was diagnosed with the virus. You did make a public statement on this, as you are very much a public person. You were out and about and contracted the virus. First, let's start off with that experience. For many, the fear is contracting the virus, or was contracting the virus, and still is. Speak to us about that experience, Tammy. I think we're having some connection issues with Tammy this morning. I think she's back on now. Yes, so good morning again, Tammy, and what we're trying to hear from you is your experience from contracting the virus. For many, it was the biggest fear. Nobody wants to contract the virus. You did. You're a public person. You shared it publicly. Speak to us about that experience. What was it like for you from the time you got the message that you're positive? Oh, you're not hearing me clearly. I am hearing you, but we're hearing you not very clear. Far also.
BA thing, and I had already done my researches on ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. So taking ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, even though people were trying to debunk its authenticity, that didn't save me because I already knew what the drug would have done. So while people were saying, oh, this is a cough tablet, yes, this is animal.
Tammy, I think we're having some connection issues this morning. I can hardly hear you when you speak. It seems very, very difficult for us. All right, we will take a quick break and we'll be back shortly. Okay.
At every stage of your life.
For business,
For your education.
For your financial freedom.
For that new ride.
Upgrade your life with the communal. Contact us today.
Despite the situation we now face, one thing is for certain. We will get through this together. As much as we are part of your community, you are a part of who we are. Let's take care of each other during this time, as we always do. And soon, we know that with the dawn of that new day, all of this will be over, and our land will once again be healed. In the meantime, stay safe. Know that we're here for you. Courts, bringing value home.
So unfortunately, we had to conclude that interview there with Tamara Songbird St. Bernard. We will have her on next week's program. We will reschedule her when her connection is a lot more stable, and also when we can do this before she gets out on the road. So we will have this experience story to share of Tammy's COVID experience, and also how it has impacted her line of work, what she has done in the meantime. So we will have that experience to share next week also. We apologize for that this morning with her. Unfortunately, that connection issue, it's making the interview very distorted, which is not the best for us this morning. So what we're going to do now is go on to our second guest who we had scheduled for today. Senator Judd Cadet. He is no stranger to this program. We have spoken before. But this morning we will be speaking on a very topical one. I think we all have an idea as to what we will be speaking to this morning. But before we get into our focus, Senator Cadet, good morning and welcome to Rise and Shine.
Good morning to you also. It's a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure to be on your program. And I'm grateful for the opportunity, and also good morning to the listeners and viewers as well. I hope this morning discussion will be one of, as always, one of that will be fruitful and one that will help with the edification of the many listeners and viewers.
Yes, we are hoping that this is achieved. I was looking forward to this morning's interview, because knowing all that's out there now, the topic, youth in politics. Should it be youth? Should it be experience? Quite a debate, but an interesting one, we must say. Or rather, I should not say youth in politics, but young professionals in politics and entering early. Senator Cadet, you are in this position. You are a young senator. You were appointed last year to that position. Not last year, I think it was before that. You've been in the Senate for about 2 years now. Yes, you have been in the Senate for a bit now. And so you understand what's happening, why the conversations have begun. With the new young leader elected, we're hearing the conversations of experience, and the debate will go on. I want us to put this into perspective this morning. Somebody in that position, let us start the conversation. Politics and youth, your position on this.
Well, politics, first of all, we have to understand what politics is all about. Politics is about representation. It's about implementing policies that has the interests of the wider population. So it is about the youth, it's about the children, it's about the women, it's about our seniors. And I think the reason young people are being featured in so much in this discussion is the fact that you have a pretty young population, where I think it's about 60% or over 60% of the population is youthful. And it is believed that they need to have a say in the decision making of the country. And by doing so, they should share different platforms. And I use the word share, different platforms, whether it is in the cabinet, whether it is at the grassroots level, whether it is on our state boards or in the private sector, young people's voice should be represented. And as a youth myself, I encourage young people to participate in politics. And for one reason is the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, politics is about lives, livelihood, and implementing policies that is in our best interest. And as a result of that, if there are things in the country, or if there are things that you want to see happen, the best way, in my opinion, is to get involved in politics so that you can have a say in the decision making of your country. No, that doesn't necessarily mean that I am pro-youth to this point of saying that it should be only young people, because policies should be quite representational in the sense that you need to have a cross-section, a wide cross-section of views in the policies so that no one feels alienated. So for example, if you have policies that is being implemented by men, so you have a team and it's only being implemented by men, there's a chance that women views may not be represented in that policy. And as a result of that, the women demographic will feel alienated. Similarly, in politics, the fact that you're representing a wide cross-section of the society, because society is not only young people. Yes, it's a large percentage, but it's not only. And as a result of that, you need to ensure that all demographics, all sectors of the society is represented, and youth is one of the sectors a demographic that must be represented. Similarly, women must also be represented, and as well as our mature, experienced, and senior individuals must also feel like they're represented as well. So I stand more on the side of a balanced team, a balanced approach where all demographic sectors have a say in decision-making process of the country.
What is your position on that of coming into politics? You started off also very young. You are vibrant within the party that you represent within the Senate. That's the New National Party. And you came in green as everybody else. The debate now is that of experience and youth in politics. Do you think that should be a prerequisite to enter the arena?
Well, it's a bit of a double whammy, because one can only get the experience by being given the opportunity, being given the opportunity. And at what stage do one really consider one to be experienced? However, what is important is that you pretty much understand the issues that we're facing, and that you pretty much have an idea of how to go about addressing those issues. Now, the thing about experience, you get better over time. And as you're faced with more issues, and this may require sometimes a few failures, may require, you may have some situation that you may experience some negative stuff, and based on these feedbacks, people improve on it. But it's a question of people's appetite on whether or not they would risk certain, whether they're willing to take such risk. And this is largely be dependent on people. But I'm not going to I'm not going to delve so much on the conversation on experience versus usefulness, because I think what is important is the people to decide whether or not they're willing to risk such. But it's more about understanding the issues that exist in the society and having a plan, a solution to the problem that is being faced, and whether or not the people believe that you can somewhat implement the solution to the problem that is being faced. And again, this can only happen by one, based on one, connectedness in the society, because again, to understand the issues facing the society, one must be well connected in the society. And that will require, whether it is, if it's youth unemployment, what does youth think is the best solution in addressing their unemployment situation? Whether it's women rights, women issues, you need to have those connections in the sector, whether it's the private sector and the economy. And you need to have that representation of views, and you need to know how the solution and plans in addressing those issues. And again, where experience comes in is when you have to somewhat find the balance as well as understanding that limited resources you have. How do you disperse of that? And how do you ensure that everyone is represented without anyone feeling alienated in the conversation or in the discussion? But again, this is in the field of politics. It's about people appetite for risk and the ability to sell your plans, vision, make people feel that they're comfortable with you, and that you can somewhat implement most of what is said, or if not all.
While we have started our discussion this morning on that of politics, I think the broader picture here is that of leadership, youth leadership as we move forward. Our young professionals like yourself are coming up. You recently graduated from SGU with a degree in marine biology, in that of taking care of our environment. And so, in addition to that, you're very active in politics. Why did you accept that offer? That was when that offer was extended to you a couple of years ago to be a senator. Why did you accept? And what are you hoping to be able to fulfill from this opportunity?
I always give the example that if you had asked me, because I got into politics, I got involved in NMP politics, and I used NMP politics. I started at the party level at around 19 years or 20 years. But if you had asked me that at 17 or 18 years, even some months prior, I would tell you I wanted nothing to do with politics. But I think the reason for me getting involved has been the fact that understanding that politics plays a critical role in the development of the society and to one's development, as well as helping address the issues that we are currently facing. And there are a number of issues that we are facing, as one of it as mentioned earlier. Youth, when you're dealing with youth, you always have to deal with the situation of unemployment and provide the provision of opportunities. We also have the climate crisis that we are dealing with. As someone who has studied in that particular field, when you really look at it, it's the future in terms of climate change doesn't look too bright. Understand that we are on path to have a 4 degrees global rise in temperature. What does that mean for smaller and developing states? So understanding all those things, understand that we have limited resources and all those things. Encourage me to get involved, because I believe politics is important. Because if you don't, there's a high chance of your whole dreams, your whole future can collapse in front of you based on policies. Bad policies can result in violence, can result in crimes, can result in increase in poverty. And so to avoid that is to get involved in politics and ensure that youth have a voice in the decision making. But added to that, I think it was important is that I had a history of being involved in governance, and I use governance in the sense that maybe not national governance, but at different levels. Because prior to that, I was the president of the student council in TAMCC. I served as a clerical youth ambassador. I served as a national youth ambassador. I was involved in sports. So there are a number of things that I think would have allowed me to have great exposure and understand that, hey, I need to make a bigger contribution in the policy of this country and policy direction of this country. And I thought politics was one area, and that's why I got involved.
As you say this, I would now ask you the next question. We have been speaking a lot about representation, the youth's voice, that voice in the broader decision-making process. You spoke about when you started in politics, taking you from your school days up to now. You are now a young professional. Will we at any point in future, are you seeing yourself at some point being one of our representatives in future for the party under which you are now serving in the Senate?
You see, the thing about politics as well, you must have, while you may have expectations, one of the things you must also have is be realistic. You must also be realistic with expectations. I mean, I cannot impose myself on anyone. This will be largely determined by whether people see it fit for me to serve at a higher level. That will require probably at, let's say, at a constituent level, constituency level, or whether it is the party believes that I can serve at the next level. But again, that's why I speak of also being realistic. For me personally, I will always love the opportunity to serve this country, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in government, but wherever I see an opportunity to serve, I will definitely make myself available. Because at the end of the day, you have to look at life from the perspective of what you can contribute to the development of the society. Not always what you can gain, but what also you can contribute to the next generation and to your generation as well. And it is always said that, we have an obligation to leave our generation better than, or the next generation better than how we would have received it. So I am open to anything once it is in the field of service. I think my entire life has been that, and I think I will continue along that path, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in the political arena.
I like that. I like that response. Diplomatic, but also balanced. It can go anywhere, but once it's in line of service, I can accept that response. As we speak to tomorrow, the youth we always speak of is tomorrow, well, are tomorrow's leaders. As we continue to move along, now with the conversation, and we know that all of this started when the National Democratic Congress elected a new, and as some say, inexperienced leader, a young professional, yes? As we speak to this though, I know that whenever we highlight, if we are to highlight issues, to me issues should be followed by solutions. How do we then prepare our youth now to be better leaders in the political arena? What would you like to see happen? Yes, we have some young professionals already in the Senate. We have yourself, we have the young lawyer from St. John that's also there, and other people who were there before you. People like Devon Rashe entered when he was, 22? Very young people entering the parliament or the Senate around that time. And as you, as a young professional, also within that arena, what would you like to see happen as we move forward? So that in future, we don't hear of these comments. We know that you would hear them, you may hear them anyway. But as I say, whenever we identify issues, I believe solutions should follow quickly on the heels of those issues.
Well, let me say this. As we were given the explanation as it relates to youth involvement in politics, what the National Democratic Congress has been experiencing is somewhat of a new territory that probably they have not really charted for most of their existence. They have never really had youth leadership at the party level. I mean, they've had appointed 2 senators, young senators, my good friend Kieran and Ron in the Senate, after the 2018 defeat. What they really have experienced is really they've made a bet on young people, and probably whether or not they'll be rewarded or not will be determined in the polls. But the party of which I serve had a history of giving young people opportunity. And I'm saying this because sometimes we forget that the NMP has always had a history of giving young people an opportunity. It started since in 1995 with Tobias Clement as a young man running in the election and serving in the Senate. We have had the likes of Emmeline Pierre. We have moved, when we changed, there's a time it was just, I think, a desk or Department of Youth to went into now it is a Ministry of Youth. The budget has increased in terms of the budget allocation has consistently been increasing over the years under the National Party. It was at time it was $15,000. Now you have millions of dollars being budgeted for young people development. But what has been happening is the fact that in addressing those youth issues is that youth is, as I mentioned, it's a quite large demographic in our society. And the problems is always evolving. So before, probably what you had was opportunities, giving young people access to opportunities, and that opportunities probably would have been basic as training. So you would have designed programs, particularly for training young people and giving them opportunities, and also you have had scholarship programs. So we have given a lot of scholarship to our young people. Now these young people are returning back home, and they're looking to give back to the society and to the country. And as a result of that, they're finding the different niches, whether it is politics, whether it's in civil society, whether it is in the private sector, further to serve. But as a youth, if you have interest in politics and to serve, it is, as I mentioned, it's always important to understand the problems that exist. And one of the ways one can understand that is being connected, whether it is through being involved in grassroots movements, whether it is in the private sector, and I use the private sector in the sense that understanding the issues and communicating and having a philosophy, an ideology on issues. And these issues, while the philosophy and ideology can change, but it gives us a position on what some of the values that you hold dear to yourself and would like to see I would like to see an embodiment of that in policy making. But what has been happening sometimes, as you may hear in the discussion now, is that sometimes people get involved and they have no history of service, really and truly. And this kind of put people in a state where they're unsure whether or not you truly care about truly care about their interests, truly care about the things that matters most to them. And as I mentioned, if one has a history of service, it makes it easier for people to have that conversation because you have a track record of where people feel like, oh, this is someone that I know have been involved in things, and this is someone that I know they have a track record of being successful at what they've done. Someone that has represent, for example, let's say for the grassroots organization, whether it is the fight against climate change, whether it is the fight against youth unemployment, whether it's the fight against women, and whether it's the fight to empower women. These are things that we had to be involved at a very, very young age. And I use young from the perspective of being as a youth. But if you're not involved in that, how do you build confidence? Because politics is about representation. If you have no history of representation, then obviously people will question whether or not you'll be good at it. And one of the ways I say to counteract that is to want to be involved. Now, as it relates to the solutions, as I mentioned, finding the solutions to many of the problems require one first to fully understand and study the problems. As I mentioned, these issues that we face today are quite complex. It's not as simple as saying increase wages. It's not as simple as saying adult suffrage, just giving people passing legislation for the right to vote. We understand that it's just profound at the time. But today's problems are much more complex in a developing world and a developing society. And therefore, one has to ensure that you properly study the problems and find the solutions to those problems. As I mentioned, and I speak of it because of my study, like say for climate change will affect wide arrays of things. So example, it is linked to your health, it is linked to food security, it is linked to opportunities in the future for our young people. And even when we're thinking about policy now, we can't just think about policies in isolation of just a particular issue, but have to think about all the rest of issues that we are facing. And as a result of that, this requires one to have deep understanding. Elections and politics is not only about your face or how good you look or how good you sing, but really about addressing the issues that people face. And I think once we immerse ourselves in those issues and could understand that we have solutions to those issues, and these solutions are workable and practical solutions, not just solutions we probably just hear another country doing that cannot fit here in Grenada, but solution that is workable and practical here, then I believe you can win the confidence of the people. And once you communicate that with clarity, I think people will buy into that vision. So I think when dealing with solutions to the problems that we face, it largely has to do with whether one understands the problems, and that requires one to be fully immersed with it.
Senator Cadet, you're right on that note. We are about to enter an election cycle. 2023 is not far away. 2021 almost ended. We know a lot can happen between now and the end of the year, but we continue to be optimistic. It can happen. We know that while, yes, it is due by 2023, it can happen before. What are your expectations going into this electoral cycle? What do you foresee? I am for interesting and very interesting season. I don't know what you see on your end. You being more involved, looking a part of representation at the Senate level, the conversations, because we would hear it changing. I think we already seen that the sales shifting as relates to the comments from the public. We're going to follow social media, we're going to listen to the radio programs, the call-in programs, and so, and it has begun. What are your expectations moving into this next electoral cycle?
Well, my expectations are quite simple. I'm expecting robust debates on the issues that we are facing here in this country. I'm expecting to hear things such as the path to recovery for this country. I'm expecting to hear a lot about opportunities for the youth, and I'm expecting to hear for more people to be involved in the discourse. And that will make for a very interesting election, as you mentioned. I think at the end of the day, people will vote based on which organization or party makes them feel safe, makes them feel comfortable, and makes them feel like, and gives them hope. We have had the last 4 years or 3 years has been really rough for this country. I mean, this pandemic was one that, if when you're campaigning in 2018, is one that you did not plan for. And the question of recovery is on the mind of everyone. The question of whether or not we were able to lift the society to prosperity. And while doing that, you also have to make, you still have to have contingencies in the event that this virus continues to mutate out there, new crisis come on the horizon. So my expectation, as I mentioned, is simple. It's robust debate on policies of the different organizations, that what they will put forward during the campaign season. The encouragement of more citizens to participate in those discussions, and with that, I'm expecting as well that my organization will be victorious at the polls whenever the date is called. I think politics is not just, as you mentioned, what you may see on Facebook may not be the total case of what exists. And we have seen that with things as the referendum. We have seen this in the case with even with vaccines. These are the discussions, and what that happened is good. But in politics, it's a lot more about organization. And it's more about connecting with people and building confidence, trust, and inspiring others that your organization can help with the development and take them to prosperity.
Senator John Cadet, thank you so much this morning. We are almost out of time, but you will be back here again. I am sure we will be speaking again in future. Your sharings this morning, very, very interesting comments. I like the balance. I like the views on youth involvement. I think we are gearing up for what would be a very, very interesting future with young professionals entering the political landscape in Grenada. People like yourself, even the newly elected leader of the NDC, and others who will be joining, I'm sure, over time. I think there's a lot to offer, and as I think I can take from both yourself and comments made by Mr. Mitchell, is that it's one thing to serve, but in order for you to make a difference, then you have to do it. You have to take it to another level. When the same people like our former leaders, Tillman Thomas, our existing Prime Minister and others, made that decision, they entered early. Today, they are speaking of their track record and their contributions. You can only make a contribution if you enter the race. You only have a chance, right, if you enter the race, but you can only make a difference if you do accept the offer and put the policies in place to make that difference. I believe we can agree to this. Senator Cadet, thank you so much again. A good day to you, and we will be speaking in future. Be safe, though, as we are still within this pandemic.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the opportunity. And I look forward to having a conversation with you again. And I trust that discussion this morning was one of, as I mentioned, was one that would edify the listeners and the viewers, and will encourage participation in the political discourse over the next couple of weeks and months.
Yes. I want to encourage the same thing, and I say best of luck to you, and continue. We do appreciate your contribution to nation building out there in the Senate when the issues are brought to the House, so that we can make the best decisions for all as we move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're speaking there with Senator Judd Cadet. He is a representative in the Senate. This morning we were speaking on youth in politics and leadership positions. Very, very interesting positions he shared with us this morning. As that debate, that very topical issue continues on Ireland. Youth experience politics. To some, prerequisites. To others, not necessarily. The debate on experience always comes to how do you get it if you're not given an opportunity to? Again, very, very interesting, but I think it is healthy, and it will help pave the way for tomorrow for all of us. I am looking forward. I am looking forward to all the sharings, the discourse, people's positions, why not, how we move forward. The information, and I think this is what I am looking forward to most, the sharings, the exchanges. What are you selling? What are you telling me? This will be the determining factors in this time as we move into 2022, which is close to the next election cycle, which is due by the next electoral period, rather. That's when the next election will be due in 2023. What will happen in 2022? Only time will tell. But I am hoping that from all of this, we would learn there's something that we can take away from all of this. And it will help better pave the way for our tomorrow. Nothing, in the midst of everything, there are always opportunities. And I want us to look for them. Look for all of them as we prepare for tomorrow. Before we wrap up this morning, it's already 8:32. Let us share the lottery results from draws conducted Wednesday, 10th November 2021. With the winning number for the Playway midday draw 28, the symbol was boat. The winning number for the Playway evening draw was 16, the symbol bus driver. The winning numbers for Daily Pick 3 midday draw 3, 4, and 3. The winning numbers for your Daily Pick 3 evening draw 7, 4, and 2. The winning numbers for your Daily Cash 4 midday draw 4, 8, 6, and 2. The winning numbers for the Daily Cash 4 evening draw 9, 1, 8, and 7. The lotto results for Wednesday, 10th November were as follows: 2, 3, 12, 14, and 23. The numbers again: 2, 3, 12, 14, and 23. The free ticket letter was F, as in Friday. There were 84 match 3 winners paying $9 and 5 match 4 winners paying $154. The current estimated lotto jackpot is now $96,000. And that was the results from draws conducted by the National Lotteries Authority yesterday, Wednesday, 10th November 2021. And on that note, that's where I say goodbye for today and this week. We'll be back here with you, God's will, next Tuesday. All things remaining the same. To the team, we say thank you, Chad, Tanya, Kishan. To our guest, it was a pleasure. We started off with Tammy, but we will be rescheduling for next week when we get an opportunity to share her experience, when she has an opportunity to share her experience from contracting the virus, how it has affected her line of business, what she would have done to see how she can go through, she can traverse through those very, very rough waters, and her projections, her expectations for the future. So we will be speaking to Tammy next week, God's will. We also spoke to Senator Judd Cadet, politics, youth, leadership, experience. The topical ones. Very interesting sharing this morning from Senator Judd Cadet. We will be hearing from more of our young people in politics, and at some point I'm sure we would also have an opportunity to speak to the newly elected leader of the National Democratic Congress on his position, his plans, expectations in the new position, and how it will all settle along as to the growth and development of this country. So it was a pleasure being here with you again this morning. I am your host, Austin Crosby. I encourage all, please be safe. Remember, we have a little bit more freedom now, but let's not abuse it. Let's continue to be responsible. Let's continue to be responsible today. So to all, be safe. Please, let's stay positive. Look for a positive reason to keep going today. We are surrounded by enough negativity. You don't need to even see it or focus on it. Look for the rainbow somewhere out there. It's a sign of hope. Look for your rainbow, whatever it is, and keep going today. Keep strong, keep going. Don't give up. And if today you can cheer someone up by just saying something nice or doing something nice, you do so, as you will be helping somebody get through a very difficult time in their life. So from me to you, a pleasant day. Be safe. We meet again next Tuesday, all things being the same.
One more time on the emotion there. Sure. The jury was out of the